No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of AEW Collision. Also, I will be giving my predictions for WWE NXT Great American Bash. That will be at the end, so stay tuned for that. But for now, Saturday night, it's all right for fighting. July 29th, 2023 edition of Collision. We do have Wembley Stadium All In coming up. Did they announce any matches? Well, let's talk about it. We opened up with the usual opening show, interview, promo, clips, Saturday night's main event style, with the various participants having their 15 to 30 seconds to hype up the matches. And then we went straight to our first match, which was Buddy Matthews versus Andrade in a ladder match with Andrade's mask on the line. Hanging above the ring, you have to climb a ladder to get it. Julia Hart was out there. She already got on the apron right when the match got started. Andrade, he's a veteran now. He knows what's up, and he did not get thrown off. Andrade took it to Buddy. They fought on the outside, and Andrade came off one of the ladders with a moonsault to the outside. He kept the momentum going, but then Buddy threw a ladder right in his face. And after the commercial break, Andrade ended up spearing Matthews off the apron onto a ladder bridge below. And then a table was brought into the ring. Both guys ended up climbing a ladder on the opposite side of the ring, outside of the ring. Another ladder bridge had been set up, and Andrade ended up giving Matthews a sunset flip powerbomb onto the ladder bridge. Holy shit chants from the fans. Then Julia Hart had handcuffs. They trapped Andrade, handcuffed him to the rope, but fortunately for Andrade, he was able to get the key and he freed himself, and then he locked Matthews in the handcuffs. Handcuffed to the rope was Matthews. Andrade threw away the key. He threw the key into the crowd, started climbing the ladder. Julia Hart gave Matthews a bolt cutter. She was very prepared. She went up, climbed the ladder, was on Andrade's back. Matthews freed himself with the bolt cutters, climbed up the ladder also on the other side, but he got knocked down. And then Julia Hart ended up opposite side of the ladder. Her and Andrade were both at the top, and Andrade ended up knocking Julia off the ladder after she slapped him. He pushed her off. She fell onto Matthews, and they both crashed through the ladder. Really cool spot here. Julia taking another crazy bump. We've seen quite a few from her over the past few years. And Andrade climbed up, got his mask. Really fun opener. Like, it was a very entertaining ladder match. I like the handcuffs, and the finish to the match was really cool. They did a very good job with this. Like, these guys are pretty much incapable of having a bad match. Shout out to TJS, and I got your super chat, TJS. I'll read it off here shortly. I appreciate it. And also shout out to Muhammad. Hope you're having a good Saturday. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. Thank you again for tuning in live and on demand. And if you're enjoying this video, you could do me a great favor and just give it a thumbs up on YouTube and leave a comment. Let me know your predictions for NXT, Great American Bash, and spread the word. Whether you're watching live or on demand, send this link to a friend of yours that watches wrestling. Anybody you know who watches wrestling, send them a link to this live stream. Very much appreciated. All right. We had Miro, who was attacked backstage by Aaron Solo, but Miro managed to fight him off. I guess Miro's going to feud with QTV. Is that the deal here? They finally have a storyline for Miro, and he's feuding with QT Marshall's guys. All right, then. Well, I guess it's better than nothing, right? Better than him cutting a promo about how he's the Redeemer and he no longer answers to his God, blah, blah, blah. At least this is something different. So I guess, yay. Darby Allin had an open challenge, which was answered by Minoru Suzuki, and they had quite the match here. Now, they were involved in a 6-man at Forbidden Door. They had this one-on-one match, and Darby took a lot of punishment in this match. He tried to go right after Suzuki. He put Suzuki in a chair and then drop kicked him from the apron. But then Suzuki, he absorbs the shots. That's his gimmick. He started no-selling, and then he went to town on Darby. He ripped off the bandages, started choking Darby with the bandages. Darby had his ribs all taped up, and the bandages were ripped off. Darby tried to chop Suzuki, and you don't do that. Just like you don't headbutt a Samoan, you don't chop Suzuki. And he continued the offense and even put his hands behind his back and offered a free shot. Darby took advantage of it, and Darby went for the coffin drop, but Suzuki caught him in his sleeper submission on the mat. But then Darby rolled himself back into a pinning maneuver. He had his shoulders up, Suzuki's shoulders were down, and Darby got the 1-2-3 victory. Entertaining match. I mean, Suzuki's basically there to put over other people, but it was entertaining for what it was. He's always entertaining when he's out there. Good match here for Darby, gets his win back from that loss last week. And then after the match, Christian appeared on the big screen with Luchasaurus. Christian, of course, acting like he's the TNT champion, even though Luchasaurus is technically. Christian said that Darby's been distracted lately, and Darby cannot be distracted when going for his, and then he corrected himself, to their TNT title. And Darby said that Christian said he's going to send Darby back to Hot Topic. That was pretty entertaining. And I'm looking forward to the match. I mean, I'm curious to see where they go with this Christian and Luchasaurus storyline, if Luchasaurus finally has enough of Christian's BS. Time will tell on that one. We had a little video promo from Toni Storm to hype up her upcoming world title match against Hikaru Shida, which is this Wednesday on Dynamite 200. Toni brought up how Shida was champion during the pandemic, and much like the pandemic, people were happy that the title reign was over and it finally ended. Ouch. Next up, we had Samoa Joe versus Gravity, who got no entrance. Basically a squash match. I mean, Gravity got in a little bit of offense, but it was basically a showcase match for Samoa Joe. He won with the Muscle Buster. Not much else to say about it. CM Punk came to the ring for a promo with Tony Schiavone, and CM Punk had his bag with him. He talked about making the towns regardless of the travel nightmares. Then he said he wanted to talk about something that nobody's been talking about. Nobody wants to talk about it. He thought that maybe he was the first person to talk about it, and he would be correct. He brought up Wembley Stadium, all in. But that's really all he had to say about it. He just wanted to bring it up that we got the big show, 80,000 people. So good for CM Punk. He's the first person to hype up this show on television. It's only a month away. And Punk said that Ricky Starks has something to do with what's in the bag. CM Punk said he's been left holding the bag, and this is him not being nice anymore. He pulled out what was in the bag. And that was, no surprise here, the AEW World Championship, but not the official one that MJF has, but rather CM Punk's own personal title. I guess he kept it, even though he had to relinquish the title in name. He still had possession of that physical title that he won last September at All Out before that incident with the Elite. Now, Punk talked about how he's the real world's champion. He is like ice cream, and MJF is like horse manure. He actually didn't say that. I'm just referencing that old Ric Flair promo where Bobby Heenan used that line to describe Ric Flair as the real world heavyweight champion. Now, CM Punk did say that he earned the title. Nobody pinned him or made him submit. Punk said that there's still blood on the title from September, and now it's going to have his symbol on it. He took out a can of spray paint and he painted an X, just like Hollywood Hogan painted NWO back in 1996. Punk put the X on the title, and he used his line, straight edge means he's better than you, and the title belongs on Collision, and it's not stolen, unlike his catchphrase. I guess a little shot at MJF with the better than you line. Ricky Starks appeared and went to the back so they could play his music and he could have the elaborate entrance. Starks got in the ring and basically wanted a title match. He said he's the real face of Collision. He's beaten Punk twice in 2 matches. Punk agreed to do a match, but said there needs to be a special guest referee because Punk is tired of the cheating. And Starks wondered who's it going to be because Punk has no friends. Crowd was into that line. And they were especially into the line when Starks said that maybe CM Punk could go to Stamford to get somebody. Stamford, Connecticut, WWE headquarters. They were in Hartford, Connecticut, by the way. Punk said he already made some phone calls. He anticipated all of this, and Punk shook hands with Ricky Starks and then had Tony Schiavone reveal the referee, who is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And that match is going to take place on next week's Collision, not All In. They're doing the match on Collision, which is interesting to me. I still don't know what the hell they're doing for All In. I mean, I was thinking during this segment, okay, maybe they're going to do CM Punk versus Ricky Starks and then MJF versus Adam Cole, and the winners go on to crown the undisputed AEW World Champion. They may still do it, but, you know, they really got to get the ball rolling here with this buildup for All In. But very good segment here. CM Punk continuing to get the mixed reactions. He was entertaining. Ricky Starks did a really good job. I very much enjoyed the segment. Then we had Juice Robinson and the Guns against Vikingo, Action Andretti, and Darius Martin. Oh, and by the way, so yeah, next week's Collision up against SummerSlam. Going head-to-head with SummerSlam, and I'm going to be there in Detroit, so there will be no Collision recap next week. I'll have to check out the show on Sunday. But yeah, AEW Collision next week going head-to-head with SummerSlam, CM Punk versus Ricky Starks at that event. So Guns N' Robinson versus Vikingo, Action Andretti, and Darius Martin. And TJS, I will get to your super chat once we get to the main event. Vikingo had probably the highlight of the match when he was launched from the top, basically in the corner. Action Andretti and Darius Martin hoisted up Vikingo in the air, and he went over the top corner to the outside onto everybody outside the ring. But eventually Bad Guys won 3-10 to Yuma on Darius. They got the 1-2-3 victory. And then they celebrated. Juice Robinson had a cutout of Jay White. Pretty basic match here. Not much else to say about it. And 9:15, 9:30 quarter hour. Guess what we had? Women's match time. Obligatory women's match. Mercedes Martinez versus Kiara Hogan. I mean, the match was all right, but I did not care about it. I had little to no interest in it. Mercedes won by submission. She kept it on. Chris Statlander ran down to make the save. And then Statlander, stupid baby face, checked on Kiara Hogan and turned her back to Mercedes, and Mercedes ended up hitting her with the championship. Why would you turn your back on Mercedes when she clearly is out of her mind? Seems pretty stupid to me, especially when you're the champion. You're supposed to be a seasoned pro and veteran and knowing the tricks and everything. So yeah, wasn't the biggest fan of this. Willow Nightingale ran down to help out, and Mercedes Martinez ain't winning that title anyway. So I really do not care about this program. We had our main event of Collision. And before we get to that, Walter Cruz sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Walter. Much appreciated. Says, how would Tony Khan know who Punk called for him to make the announcement for Punk? Oh, Tony Schiavone. How would Tony Schiavone know who Punk called? It's almost like this is scripted. What the hell? Well, maybe Punk whispered it to him. I didn't see him do it, but I'm just trying to give you a logical reason. Maybe they discussed it backstage and Tony Schiavone was ready to make the announcement. I don't know. I mean, yeah, the whole thing's kind of silly, but whatever. I just try not to let it bother me. Thank you again for the super chat, though. And MJF, Adam Cole, baby. I like their remix. Kind of reminds me of like when Big Show and Chris Jericho had their remixed entrance theme. We've seen several of them over the years. It's always a fun time. And yeah, they're doing the over-the-top babyface stuff, especially MJF. Although he's still MJF, still trying to take the shortcuts. Them against FTR for the tag team titles. Crowd was extremely into this match. Double clothesline, FTR dueling chants. Man, they really got this double clothesline thing over. It's crazy. Cash Wheeler avoided it early on, and MJF acted like he was injured in order to gain the advantage. MJF and Dax slapped each other a bit. Everybody got in the ring, and after the commercial break, MJF was worked over for a while, but then he hit a double DDT. FTR was taken down. Adam Cole tagged in. Got several near falls, nearly won on multiple occasions. And Dax also avoided the double clothesline. MJF was outside, and Adam Cole almost got the win on multiple occasions, but could not put him away. And at one point, MJF was back in there, and they did a super kick and tombstone combo. Did not work. FTR then got the upper hand, did a double team to Adam Cole, superplex, big splash. Cole kicked out of that. MJF tagged back in, and MJF hit the Shattered Dreams while the referee was distracted. Dax still kicked out. Crowd was chanting AEW, this is awesome, fight forever. And then Cole was about to be hit with the Shattered Dreams. However, MJF took the bullet for Adam Cole and took the Shatter Machine. Dax ended up pinning MJF. MJF's save ultimately cost him the match. He got pinned by Dax Harwood. And then afterwards, Adam Cole shook hands with FTR. went over to MJF, who was distraught in the corner. MJF was like, I blew it. He was so upset. Adam Cole gave MJF the championship, the AEW world title, and said that MJF has nothing to be ashamed of. And then they did this long little tease here. MJF, is he going to turn against Adam Cole? We're all waiting for it. MJF acted like he was going to hit Cole with the title, and Cole was even expecting it. He's like, just do it. He dared him to do it with his back turned. But then MJF dropped the championship, and Adam Cole went over to MJF. The crowd chanted, hug it out. They did hug it out. MJF held up his title, and they even maybe teased Adam Cole possibly doing something because MJF was up on the ropes holding up his title, and Adam Cole was standing there right behind him, but no turn from either guy. And they kept standing there, and they got the crowd all hyped up, and Dynamite went off the air, or not Dynamite, Collision went off the air with no turn. They are still together. They're still a team. So yeah, they are milking this. And I agree with Walter. Like, this is great stuff here, and they're letting it play out. The question is, though, what the hell are you doing for All In? I mean, that's the question. And I wonder if they're still trying to figure out where they're going with this and how this plays into All In and All Out. I mean, you would think that this has got to end at some point, but I mean, it's arguably the best thing in AEW right now. Like, these guys are getting crazy reactions, and the fans love seeing it, so they got to keep it going, right? Like, why put the axe on something when it's getting great crowd reactions and seems to be drawing up interest in AEW right now? TJS sent in a $5 super chat. He's going to hate this one. He says, please answer in video. Feels like they booked themselves into a corner. People want CM Punk versus MJF at All Out. No one buys Cole beating Moxley in Wembley Stadium. And what are your thoughts on Papa John's? Well, as far as CM Punk and MJF goes, like, definitely that's a match that would make sense for All Out. But, this thing with MJF and Adam Cole, it's really caught on. And I'm not even sure if AEW, Tony Khan, MJF, Adam Cole, I don't know if they all knew that this was going to really catch on as much as it has. So maybe they had a plan, and now that they're trying to stretch this out, it might get delayed. They might save MJF versus CM Punk. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I'm really not sure, but I'm hopeful that they have a clear direction, and we'll start to see some kind of buildup for these big events. Like, if it was me, I would be plugging the hell out of All In. I'd be hyping up the matches big time. Like, Tony Khan is a promoter, and the key word is promote. You have to promote. Hype, hype, hype. That's how WWE made all this money and built this empire, on hype. And they got to start hyping up All In. You got 75,000 people in the building this time. But if you want 75,000 people next time, you got to hype the hell out of this show and really push it as the biggest thing ever, and hopefully create some new fans. Like, that's what you need to accomplish at the end of the day. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, not sure MJF betraying Cole is a viable option now. Well, again, I would be fine with Adam Cole turning against MJF, but I like what they did here a lot, because if it is MJF going back heel, I mean, he's a heel, but turning against Adam Cole, this makes sense because MJF tried to do the right thing. I like it because it gives his character layers. This is a guy that's always taken the shortcuts, and for once, he tried to do the noble thing, and it backfired on him. I thought this was really well done. And if MJF turns against Cole, it makes sense now because MJF tried to do the right thing and it didn't work. TJS, Papa John's, probably bottom of the barrel for pizza as far as I'm concerned. I would put Pizza Hut, Hungry Howie's, ahead of it. I would put most of the chains, Little Caesars, all those would go ahead Papa John's. Maybe they're above Domino's, but they're close to the bottom as far as the pizza chains go for me. So sorry about that, TJS. I just never my go-to for pizza. And he is definitely shocked by that. Sorry, I broke your heart, TJS. All in all, Collision was a great show. We had a few moments and segments that were filler, but started off strong. Middle of the show was strong with CM Punk, and it ended strong. I give the show an A-. One of the best Collisions to date. I mean, probably right up there with the show that had the 2 out of 3 falls match. I mean, this was a very entertaining show and very well done across the board with a few exceptions, just a few filler segments, and would have been better if they maybe had a little bit more build up for All In and All Out. But all in all, I was very entertained by the show. All right, so now let's get to NXT. Let me know your predictions, chat room. Send in your predictions in the live chat, and I'll put up some of the responses here. You could just put all your predictions in one post, and I'll put them up here. NXT, I was going to say TakeOver. NXT Great American Bash coming up. We got several matches, 6 matches. That seems to be the norm now for NXT. We got Gable Steveson match up against Baron Corbin. I mean, Gable Steveson, Olympic gold medalist. Baron Corbin is always jobbing, putting people over. So I think this is a pretty clear win for Gable Steveson. We got the North American Championship match. Dominik Mysterio defending against Mustafa Ali and Wes Lee. Dominik just won the title, and they got a lot of mileage they can get with this title run. Would make no sense for Dominik to lose the title right away, so he'll retain here. Mustafa Ali will probably be the one to take the fall. Could be Wes Lee, but I mean, Ali is also there, like Corbin, to put over the NXT guys. And yeah, it could be a scenario where Wes Lee has the match won and Dominik steals the win. I think that Dominik will steal the win. He'll get a cheap win here to retain his championship. And then we got the singles match with Blair Davenport versus Roxanne Perez. I really don't know much about what's going on with their storyline, as I don't watch the weekly shows these days. But I do know WWE is high on Roxanne, so I'm going to go with Roxanne to win the match here and build her up potentially for an NXT Women's Championship down the line. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, Dominik has out-heeled MJF since he turned. I mean, MJF, as great of a heel that he is he even top 5 now? We got Dominik, Don Callis, Christian, Roman Reigns, and maybe MJF in the 5th spot. Man, I mean, yeah, he's definitely fallen down as far as heels go. Several people in the chat room are picking Blair Davenport, so there you go. We got the NXT tag team titles on the line. We got Gallus defending against the D'Angelo family, Tony D'Angelo and Stax. Now, I think they've been doing something with Tony where he's been in jail, prison, whatever, and he just got out. Goofy storyline, but whatever. Gallus, they've had the titles for a while, and I could see this being the one title change of the show. I'm not predicting any other title changes, so I agree with TJS. I think that the family will win the tag team titles here. And this will be the one title change of the evening. We got Tiffany Straton versus Thea Hale in a submission match for the NXT Women's Championship. Thea Hale is like 19, 20. I don't think that she's going to win the title here. Straton just won it recently. I expect her to continue her run and probably face Roxanne Perez for the title at some point, maybe the next Premium Live event. Tiffany retains here. I like Tony D'Angelo, but I think the whole gimmick with the going to jail thing was a little over the top. Like, at least with Dominik, it's funny, but the clips I've seen, it's been silly. Like some of these angles in NXT are really goofy. I think Thea Hale is the Chase U girl, right? And that gimmick is ridiculous. But you know what? I thought Enzo and Cass had a goofy gimmick in NXT when I first saw them. And I'm like, no way this is catching on. And it did. They went to the main roster and it caught on. I could be wrong. I could be completely off with Chase U, but that seems like something that's not going to catch on Raw and SmackDown. I could be very wrong, though. Main event. Carmelo Hayes defending his championship against Dragunov. This should be a hell of a match. I mean, Dragunov, you want to talk about not missing. Dragunov does not miss. This guy should be on Raw and SmackDown. He is a great, great wrestler. Obviously, another guy that doesn't have the size, but he is just fantastic. I mean, both guys should be on the main roster, honestly. I do think Carmelo Hayes will retain here. I do not see Dragunov winning the championship. Hayes will retain and continue his momentum. He could be on the main roster anytime, but I think it'll be another 6 months to a year, maybe sooner, because I would like to see him join up with Bobby Lashley. They did tease it, but I don't think he's losing the title right now. I think Dragunov should be on the main roster. Give Carmelo another 6 months and then get Carmelo on the main roster. And those are my predictions for NXT. I will be back after NXT to give my thoughts on the show. Live results coverage on NoDQ.com. So check that out. And in case you're under a rock, No DQ CAW coming back for a big match. Jason Voorhees versus Mr. Clean in a barbed wire exploding death match. Exploding barbed wire death match. That's coming up this week on the No DQ YouTube channel. No DQ predictions for SummerSlam coming up. Stay tuned for all that. NoDQ.com will keep you covered as far as news goes for SummerSlam. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.